Okay, back with you on the Bronx Buzz. I am very excited about this segment. It's an old friend and somebody who's an artist, an ice sculpturist now, and she's just been doing all kinds of crazy stuff in the Bronx, and good for her. It's Lovie Pignata. Nice to see you, Lovie.
Hi, nice to be here.
So we don't have to review everything you've done. I was just mentioning a mural I saw that you had done at the Boys and Girls Club, but what ice sculpture? What could have gotten into you?
Yes, I'm trying things that are a little more risky, and
Apparently,
I love it. This came about. I did a residency on Governor's Island back during the pandemic, so I've been familiar with the island since it reopened, and it's just a beautiful place, and it's a great place for artists. So I knew about the ice sculpture contest. The first year I missed the deadline. The second year they didn't choose me, and I'm glad they didn't because this year was a giant prize for the Times Square.
yeah, you got to show your stuff in Times Square, but in terms of ice sculpture, I'm going to be really naive here. Where do you get the ice from? Like I don't know that I'm going to my deli and saying, "Hey, you got a big block of ice that I can use to carve up." How does all that work?
Okamoto Studios is in Astoria, and
Hmm.
they are premier ice sculptors
Really?
in New York City. They do many large sculptures everywhere. I now looking back, I see they did things at NYBG, but they do things all over the boroughs and some very cool sculptures. So they were the leaders in this sculpture contest and provided the tools, the the safety, and the training. We went to the studio the week of the contest
Hmm.
to all get our hands on a chainsaw and the tools that we would use on the Saturday.
Did you find that you were personally easily adaptable to doing this? And folks, by the way, we're gonna show all the stuff that she did and what was actually she won, and it was displayed at Times Square. I mean, I just can't imagine doing. I've seen it. I think it was at the Bronx Zoo. They have like their New Year's thing. They always carve stuff up. It's kind of interesting. But for somebody who hasn't done it before and it was not an ice sculpturist before, what was it like to try and sort that out? Or did it come easy? You said, well, just zipped it up, you know?
It's you you had 2 hours, so there was not much thinking. It was
Wow.
just all doing. But I felt comfortable with the tools. The chainsaw, I'm left-handed, and it's a kind of a right-handed tool, so that was a little harder to manage because my sight line was a little bit off. But other than that, the other tools I've used before in different capacities, but um, to use them on ice was amazing.
And did
Um,
you did you create the design beforehand? Like did you
yes.
draw you drew it out and figured out how you were going to do it?
Yes, I use semi-transparent paper so it would be similar to ice, and then
Oh.
I physically cut it to my design to see how I would cut it with the chainsaw.
So
So,
let's describe the what actually won. And listen, it makes. I was going to tell you this before the show, and I saved it for this moment. Your name is Lovey, and here you are winning a love sculpture that is being shown on Valentine's Day in Times Square. That's rather remarkable. Let's just talk about the design and what the concept was that you were working with.
sure, the theme this year was love. So, I was excited about that just because who doesn't love love? Um, the mitten design, I love a play on words, and I love the word smitten and what it means. So it was kind of free flowing after I decided I was going to use mittens. I didn't go for the typical hand hearts because I did not want to carve fingers.
Okay.
So so the mittens kind of gave me an easy out, and it was exactly what was the
came
right
out,
one.
and there you were. So, so for folks who don't know, those are two mittens. I mean, I can't do it, but it formed the heart. Oh, there you. I'm sure you've visualized this even in your bed going to sleep at night. Um, so did you carve it on Governor's Island and it was moved out there, or you had to like carve it out there in Times Square again?
Well, on Governor's Island, the 10 contestants carved for 2 hours.
Mhm.
And that was basically a model for what they did in Times Square. So I carved one block of ice. They carved almost 70 to
Wow.
create a larger version. It was so exciting to watch.
Well, I'm also trying to figure out, back to my question. My refrigerator doesn't hold anything that long. So I assume there's a big commercial freezer that they put them all in. I mean,
Yes,
uh,
that,
I'm sorry for being so naive about it, but it's fascinating. And of
it
course, what you
is.
turned out was just beautiful. So what was that process? So you did it, and then they put it in storage. They froze
No,
it.
it melted on Governor's Island. So
Wow.
all the pieces that the 10 contestants did melted on Governor's Island. Even the trophy made of ice they gave me, I couldn't take it all the way home.
Right.
But the ice, I don't know where they source their ice because the studio itself is not that big. They're able to carve there and carve inside the freezers if need be. So the ice is supplied by their ice supplier. The blocks are 20 inches by 40 inches by 9 inches. That's the typical size for ice carving.
Wow.
And so I carved one, and then they stacked almost 70 and carved the same design.
And so this would, when the one that appeared in Times Square, they carved based
Yes,
on your design?
yes,
Oh, that's
yes,
fascinating. I didn't realize that. And those are the people of Okamoto's studio.
yes.
Okay. We should mention, to give credit where credit is due, the co-presenting partners were Governor's Island Arts, Times Square Arts, and Okamoto Studio. Um, your hands got cold? I
Not
mean, one would think. Did you wear mittens?
No, no. We just wore basic construction gloves, the cotton
Oh,
gloves with latex gloves underneath to, to shield you from the cold.
from the creative process, in comparison to other work that you've done, to murals or anything else that you've done, do you like it?
I,
Did you feel? Did
I
you
loved
love
it.
it? Did you hate it? Did you say, "I got to be done with this. I'm finished with it"?
No, I loved it. And
You loved it.
I love the time constraint about it. I'm a little shy in front of camera, so I was shocked when I turned around
You're
and there
doing
were
all right
hundreds of
today. So,
people. I know. I'm
uh,
getting better at it.
all right, fair enough. So that was something, as being in front of other people. That was the challenge, as opposed to being in your home or whatever, and you're sketching something.
Well, it didn't end up being a challenge because I was so into the ice and I was worried about running out of time. I was calling, how much time, how much time do I have left? And Okamoto Studio, Shintaro, who is the principal there, um, was my guide in carving. We each had, uh, there were 10 contestants and there were 5 professional art carvers to assist us, straighten up your line. They kind of, shouted like coaching at us. You got 10 minutes for this, and then we move on
Mhm.
to the next. So I'm glad I had that because it was hard to tell what time it was. It went by so fast.
And I want to ask you about that. And you were talking, and we've talked about other formats that you may have created in. And it's fascinating to me that you say you liked the time frame. I wonder if in other work you're going to start to put a little stopwatch on it and say, you know what, I'm going to give myself 2 hours to make sure to finish. In terms of your ongoing creative process, I wonder if that's not like you learn something from it. It's like a new element. Or you're going
Yeah.
to say never again.
No, I loved it. And I do put time constraints on some of my work, especially when doing proposals, because you can take up so much time and then you don't get that grant and you've,
Oh, that's
exerted that
true.
much creative energy. It takes a lot to fill out the grants and come up with ideas, some of them never get used. So they just kind of mill around until you can apply them somewhere else, or tweak the idea so that it fits to another art call.
Right. I got two things on that. Number one, I always ask artists, painters who paint paintings, I always ask them, how do you know when you're done? Because a lot of times it's like, well, I could add more. And then, some artists like, oh, that's it, I'm done. But other times you could probably drive yourself crazy, say,
Yes.
another little bit here. So that's one thing that I guess was instructive out of this. And then I'm curious, did you ever sculpt anything else? Did you work with clay? Have you done anything like this previously?
Yes, I studied sculpture when I was in college.
Ah,
So I've always kind of thought in 3D and always been drawn to it. Even when I paint, I try to put an element of space there, because I'd rather be doing 3D, but there's a lot more mural work out in the world. So um, I end up doing many murals, but this is much more my jam. This is what I would like to be doing, is just working in new materials, working in 3D, working site specific. Um, those are
and I will add in, and being displayed in the center of Times Square. That that
it's
kind
hard
of
to
helps.
beat.
I saw some numbers here about that finalists were awarded. You were awarded money. You can say how much if you want. It
Sure.
doesn't really matter. Go ahead.
All the contestants received $2,000 for competing, and then I received an additional $5,000 for winning.
Congratulations. Um, did the sculpture melt, or is it in storage somewhere?
They took it down last night.
Oh, was that painful?
No, I it's temporary work, which I always appreciate, because I
Okay.
feel like you have to see it, or otherwise you miss it. You can see photos of it, but
Yeah.
I like the finite timeline. It's like an airplane, a hot air balloon ride. You don't know when you're gonna land. You don't know when it's over.
So now, I mean, the ice sculptures that I've seen have again been at the Bronx Zoo. Do you feel like you're going to do more? Are you going to do this again, or do
Um,
something like this?
I would like to use ice again, but a little less traditionally. So I- I'm working on a proposal now, so it's not a project that may come to fruition, but ice is on my brain right now.
Wow. Well, I wonder if that's going to change once the weather changes. Who knows? Lovey Pignata, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
On-site, on display there on Times Square. Just absolutely wonderful. And if you do more, I hope, as I always say, if the curtain don't fall and the creek don't rise, I'll be back, and you could join us again. Thank you so
Excellent.
much, and congratulations. I've known you a long time. I was really so proud of you
Thank you.
that
I
you
appreciate
really
that.
accomplished that. Thanks.
Thank
Okay,
you.
that will do it for the Bronx Buzz. We thank Daniel in our first segment. We thank Lovey in our second segment. And we thank you, of course. And as I said, if the curtain don't fall and the creek don't rise, we'll be here next week. Good night.